Good evening, everyone, wherever you are. We are connected by the miracle of electrons. So even though we might be far away, we can meet through this, through the internet and interact in some ways with each other. Tonight we begin two classes, the first of two classes on the bone of Mahayana Buddhism, as taught by our teacher, Zen Master Seung Sahn. I said before, Hinayana or Theravadan Buddhism is going from something to nothing. This world has many aspects to it, and we all experience suffering. If using certain practices, we can concentrate our mind and develop insight into the nature of things, we can finally attain emptiness of all things, nirvana, which is complete extinction of suffering. Mahayana Buddhism's teaching is going from nothing, from emptiness, to something. So it begins with the teaching of emptiness. And if we attain this empty nature of all things, then we're freed from our suffering. Then what? Then help others. So the ideal in Hinayana Buddhism is the arhat, someone who leaves social life, practices strongly and sincerely, sees through the nature of all appearing phenomena, attains emptiness and nirvana, and is freed from all suffering. The ideal and the sort of aim of Mahayana Buddhism is the Boddhisatva, the enlightened being who attains this nirvana, but makes a vow to stay in the world and keep coming back in the world to help all beings attain enlightenment and be freed from suffering. So sometimes we say Theravadan or Hinayana Buddhism is like riding a bicycle. Mahayana Buddhism is like driving an airplane or a bus. You take many people with you. So the aim of Mahayana Buddhism is realize our empty nature, then using the appearances of the world to save all beings from suffering. So how do we do that? Well, there's certain teachings that Buddha gave that help us see the world more clearly. As I said in the first class, maybe it was last class, all of us have some kind of like a lattice of ideas that we're not even aware of. And that lattice, we use that to perceive the experiences of this world a certain way. But that's usually created by just our opinions and our attachments to things. So if we do that, we won't experience the world as it is. We'll experience the world as we are, and we will tend to keep repeating the various patterns in our life over and over, lifetime after lifetime. But by self-reflecting, we can begin to see that conditioning and take it away. And one thing that many people have found very helpful is because Buddha is able to so clearly describe his experience, he gives us, it's called like a head start. We don't have to try everything by trial and error. You know, when you want to make a car, when you want to get a car, you don't have to start from the beginning and try and figure out how to make the engine. Other people have done that. So you just learn how to use it and you can go places. So in the same way, we can use a Buddha's teaching to help us see more clearly and see how our reactions of things many times don't fit in well with reality. And if we test that, the teachings ourselves and find them valid, then we can become more clear. If we're more clear, our speech, our actions, our experience of the world will be more clear, and our life will become more beneficial to ourselves and to others. the fundamental teachings of Buddha, he said, there's only two things I teach: the cause of suffering and taking away of suffering. So if, we get wrapped up in different kinds of clothing and different relationships and our social situation and politics and economics and religious ideas and all kinds of things, and, gain and loss. But the most fundamental things and the things that kind of underlie everything we do is the fact of suffering and what we can do to relieve it. And of course, if we're more clear, we're going to be more skillful. And then many of the things we get involved with won't be necessary. And maybe during this pandemic, you've even seen in your own life things that really are important, and many things that we spend a lot of time and energy on that aren't important. So in the same way, if we study Buddhist teaching and we practice it, we apply it to ourselves and our life, we can be more efficient and be more satisfied. And that's what people are trying to do, but often we do it in not very skillful ways. So first point I want to talk about in Mahayana Buddhism is the 6 insights of Mahayana Buddhism. We talked about the 3 insights of Hinayana Buddhism, Buddha's teaching on insight into impermanence, insight into impurity, suffering, insight into non-self. So what are the 6 insights of Mahayana Buddhism? First, I'm going to read the direct translation from Chinese, and then I'm going to say it in much easier way to understand. First insight is insight into the existence and non-existence of the dharmas. Basically, what that says is universal substance is empty. Now we know, for example, ice, water, steam, their original substance is H2O. So in the same way, we talk about everything in the universe is created by some substance. And the first insight is this substance itself is empty. The second insight into the fact that there are no external, tangible characteristics, and that all is emptiness. It's even confusing to me to read this stuff. Simple version, name and form are also empty. So substance is empty, and all this stuff that appears, all our name and form, is also empty. Third insight into existence, emptiness, and the middle way. Basically, what that means is if everything's originally empty, then everything is the absolute. And the absolute is complete. So therefore, everything's complete. If you begin to think in terms of existence and emptiness, existence and non-existence, you're already creating an idea that isn't the truth. So if we see the truth of emptiness, then we realize each thing is complete. Everything's made of substance. Sun, moon, stars, the microphone, the water, the air, you, me. We're all made from the same substance. This substance is empty. These things themselves are empty. So everything is complete. Now, we usually don't think that way. I'm hungry. But what we really mean is I'm not feeling complete. I don't like this feeling. I want the feeling of being full. I'm cold, I'm hot. But the truth is empty stomach is complete. Satisfied stomach is complete. Pain is complete. Happiness is complete. Suffering is complete. 50 degrees is complete. Minus 50 degrees is complete. If we realize the first 2 insights, then we'll realize Each thing the way it is complete. That name is the middle way, not attaching to these opposites. And the ultimate opposite in human mind, existence and non-existence. Wanting existence is a mistake. Wanting non-existence, suicide, or, maybe you didn't ever think about committing suicide, but you probably sometimes thought, I wish I could just disappear. I wish I just didn't exist. I don't know, as a teenager, when I was suffering, I always thought it was my parents' fault because I didn't plan to come here. They made me, so it's their fault. But that doesn't help at all. So third insight is that each thing is complete, okay? This is the middle way. If we attain that each thing is complete, the fourth one, insight into the true aspect of all phenomena. That means if we attain everything is complete, everything is truth. This moment here, there's the sound of an airplane outside. Okay, that's the truth. This moment's truth. Now, why do we suffer? We attach to these moments and they're always changing. But if we don't attach to them, each moment as it is the truth. Okay, very important. Many people argue about the truth. We think this happened this way. Somebody else thinks it happened that way. Or, any political discussion often ends in just arguing religious things. This is the truth. This is the truth. But actually, none of them are the truth. The truth is, that's my idea. If we see things that way, then moment to moment, everything is the truth. The suffering comes from attaching to moment things because they're always changing. So you attain truth. Fifth insight into the mutual interpenetration of all phenomena. If you study Thich Nhat Hanh or many other Buddhists now, they talk about interbeing. There's not me as a being. It's all connected. It's all mutually interpenetrated, which means everything is the truth. So everything is no hindrance. We find many hindrances in our lives. The pandemic is a hindrance, for many people. I can't go out. I can't do this. I have to wear a mask, or I'm not wearing a mask. All these things become hindrances for us. But if we realize really on a deep level, everything exactly the way it is complete in the truth, then everything is no hindrance. That means the whole universe is no hindrance. Live is no hindrance. Die is no hindrance. Then finally, this is interesting. Some things we can talk about. George Carlin was an American comedian, and he had he was active for many years, since the 60s at least, and he died, a few years ago. And some of you will know him. He's tremendously funny, but he's also very serious. And he has a routine where he talks about saving the planet. And it's great. You should look it up. George Carlin, Saving the Planet. He talks about how ridiculous that idea is, how arrogant it is. The planet has been here 4 billion years. We've been here 200,000. We're going to save the planet. Even if all human beings disappear, the planet's going to keep going. And how ridiculous that is, this idea we're going to save the planet. We're just attached to our situation. So one time, I might have mentioned this in one of the other classes. We went to the airport in Los Angeles around 1983 or so. I think I did mention this because we picked Sunim up, and on the ride back, one of the things that time, nuclear war was the big fear. Now it's pandemics and climate change, and I'm sure there's a whole list of things. But that time, at least in Soviet Union and America, this nuclear war was the big thing. So somebody said, sir, if a nuclear bomb falls on my city, what's my correct situation? And Sunim said, die. I'm pretty sure I told this. And the person was like, what? You know, and Sunim said, yeah, that time you can avoid dying. That's your correct situation. Bomb explodes, die. Then this person said, but if there's a nuclear war, the world will be destroyed. And Sunim said, no, this world won't be destroyed. Then the person said, what kind of world? Then he said, oh, new world would appear. What kind of new world? Poison world. Then this person went, ugh. And he said, you don't like poison world. Poison creatures like poison world. I mean, the mammals didn't do so well until the dinosaurs all died. So somebody will come along and take our place and the world will be just fine. So we have a hindrance, but if we attain, everything's originally empty, everything is complete, everything is the truth, then everything is no hindrance. Then one more step is very important. If we attain everything's no hindrance, then we understand, we attain the cause of suffering. We and everything are not separate. There is no me and you. Your happiness is my happiness. Your sadness is my sadness. Your suffering is my suffering. Then, like a correct mother's mind. Then, naturally, this compassion appears. What's compassion? In English, it means with suffering, suffering together with others. And you can see how people don't do that, you know, too much. We don't do it, others don't do it. But if we attain everything's no hindrance, then naturally we attain the sixth insight. Insight that sees that phenomena themselves are the absolute. Name and form that appears, all this appearing stuff itself, not name and form, but all this appearing stuff itself is the absolute. And if we realize that, naturally, great love, great compassion, the great Boddhisatva way appears. Because there's no I, and we're not using things that appear for me. Because everything's no hindrance, it doesn't matter whether good things appear or bad things, whether happiness appears or suffering, we can use it to help others. So this is where the Bodhisattva way appears. So a long time ago, 100 years ago, somebody asked our great-grand teacher, Monggong Sunim in Korea, Zen Master Monggong, why don't more people practice Zen? Then he said, in this life, everybody wants a good thing and they don't want a bad thing. But people don't understand, when you get a good thing, you also get a bad thing. If they understood that, they would practice Zen. So most people's lives are directed towards, I want to get good things. But a practicing person's life is good things come, I use them to help all beings. Bad things come, I use them to help all beings. And it's a natural thing we do when we truly love. So if we attain great love, then we're not looking anymore for my good and bad. Each thing that appears, compassion and the direction to help others appears, and we use it for others. This is the result of the six insights. So that's a first and most basic important points that Mahayana Buddhism teaches. And then this all comes out in the many, many sutras, the teachings of Buddha that are collected as the Mahayana Sutras. Basically, the Mahayana Sutras are teaching emptiness and true nature, where the Theravada and Hinayana Sutras are all describing the many ways in which human experience appears, various forms of experiences that also create suffering, and how to see through them, that they're impermanent, that they create suffering, and that originally there is non-self. our nature is non-self, so it's not happening to anyone. Then we use the practices of precepts and concentration and insight, precepts, and in Mahayana Buddhism, we say samadhi and prajna, samadhi, one mind, and wisdom, to dispel the three poisons and attain nirvana. In Mahayana Buddhism, it begins with the teachings of emptiness and true nature. And everything that appears itself is the truth. And if we practice, if we attain that as our experience, everything becomes no hindrance. We're not hindered by thoughts of good and bad. So all the sutras are talking about that, the Mahayana Sutras. And in China, various schools would appear around various sutras. A certain sutra, someone would become a master of it, and many people would gather to study the teachings of that sutra with this master, and then the schools appeared. And they also went to Korea. But Korea, very early on in the history of Buddhism in Korea, around the 500s, there was a great master named Wan Hyo. And he, in particular, tried to show how all these different teachings, including the Hinayana teachings, are all aspects of one nature, which are just used by Buddha according to the capacity of the student, of the listener, to receive it. So in Korea, although these different sutra schools appeared, they were periodically all unified together. And so they all have a basic equal weight, and understanding that different people will benefit from different ones of the sutras. Our teaching comes out of the Choge tradition. And what also happened in Korea, starting way back in the 500s, 600s, 700s, is the sutra schools and the Zen schools, the meditation Zen schools, also united with the understanding that they're both true teachings, but that experience is primary. So the core of any teaching is practice and the experience. So that's Korean Buddhism. It's what we say in English, syncretic. It gathers all the aspects, particularly of Mahayana Buddhism, although now there's many Korean Sunims who also study Tibetan Buddhism and Theravadan teachings. It's all kind of one school. So it's not so sharply delineated. All the teachings fit together. So what are some of the main sutras that are important in Mahayana tradition? In Korea, probably the most important are the Diamond Sutra, the Heart Sutra, and the Six Patriarchs, Chinese Six Patriarchs Platform Sutra. That's the only teaching of someone who wasn't the Buddha that is given the title Sutra. So that's how central to Chinese Buddhism the Sixth Patriarch was. And that's, that's a whole class of another time. So first, the Diamond Sutra. In Chinese Buddhism, in Korean Buddhism, the Diamond Sutra is central. At funerals, it's often chanted. When Subang Sunim, Zen Master Subang, died in Hong Kong, there was, I think, 3 days of, coming and spending time with his body and a funeral ceremony. And also I saw at night the Diamond Sutra school of Chinese Buddhists in Hong Kong came, and they spent, the lay people, they had these black robes, and they spent all night, 10 hours chanting the Diamond Sutra over and over again. I think it takes about 20 minutes. And many people their practice will be chanting the Diamond Sutra every day, 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. So the Diamond Sutra is kind of like a bridge from Hinayana Buddhism to Mahayana and the Boddhisatva way. And it's very famous because the sixth patriarch, when he was still a layman, heard a monk chanting the Diamond Sutra and understood his true nature. He was a woodcutter. His father died. He just cut wood, went to the town, sold it, gave the money to his mother. And one day, coming out of the town, he saw a monk who was chanting, and it turned out to be the Diamond Sutra. And when he heard the line, "Don't attach to anything that arises in your mind," he got enlightenment and later arranged to go visit the sixth patriarch, and then spent the rest of his life practicing. He ordained and became the sixth Zen patriarch in China, and really took the Indian Zen that had come with Bodhidharma and really made it Chinese. So he's very central to the development of Zen in China and in Korea. And my feeling is that our line, it does go back to the sixth patriarch, but even the teaching style, where the sixth patriarch wasn't so focused on a technique, using everything to point to what he called the essence of mind, or what we call don't know mind, using anything to point to that. Also, Zen Master Sung San, he was still a layman reading Western philosophy up in the mountains because he was so disgusted by society. The Korean War had ended, and Korea was suddenly free of occupation. And on one of the remembrance days of an uprising against the Japanese occupation, he said as a young student, he saw all different political groups of Koreans fighting each other. And he was so horrified. Now we're free, but we're fighting each other, that he left university, went into the mountains, and decided never to come back till he realized the truth. He wasn't raised Buddhist. And he was given some Buddhist sutras and a copy of the Diamond Sutra. And he said, when he read the lines, if you view all appearances as non-appearing, that is your true nature. And he said his mind became clear, and then he realized attaining it is necessary. So he became a monk, did his famous 100-day retreat, got enlightened, and then he met Dae Bong, Zen master, and followed him, and ended up coming to our countries and sharing the Dharma with all of us in amazing ways. The Diamond Sutra, however, it only really teaches how to attain our true nature. It's all about emptiness and not attaching. Somebody, Shariputra or Subhuti, asks Buddha, did you attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, the supreme enlightenment? And Buddha says, if the Tathagata says that he is to attain supreme enlightenment, perfect enlightenment, that is not supreme perfect enlightenment. The Tathagata never says he attained supreme or perfect. Every chapter is that kind of style, just hitting any kind of conceptual thinking. But it doesn't teach us how to use this appearing and disappearing world, okay? It teaches us not to attach to this appearing and disappearing world, but not how to use moment-to-moment truth and correct function. One time we were at the Sixth Patriarch's Temple, and we did a 3-day retreat with the Zen monks there, our international group. And at one point there was a Dharma talk, and I'm sort of checking the time here. It was interesting. It was this old building with huge windows, and the windows were made of wooden shutters. And the way you opened it is the whole shutter like lifted up like this and then would be propped on a pole. And then the whole window, big window opening, and they were all like that. So there's a wall, but so much of it was these open windows. And I remember it was probably September or something, but it was pouring rain outside in the south of China. And San Sunim had one of the monks, Western Sunims, give a talk. Everything was translated into the Cantonese, maybe also Mandarin. And then people could ask questions. And this one monk, he looked quite, a Chinese monk, quite educated and fairly young, got up and he said, "Sir, in the Diamond Sutra and many other sutras, it talks about all is empty. Everything is emptiness. But in the Pure Land Sutra, it talks about the Pure Land. If you pray to Amitabha, you can be reborn in the Pure Land, the Western Paradise, and from there, it's really easy to get enlightenment. So, if everything's empty, how's there a Pure Land?" And I don't remember at first what Sung San Sunim said. I think he said basically, if you're thinking, then there's emptiness in the Pure Land. But if you cut your thinking, then no problem. But this monk persisted and said, well, if all's empty, where's the Pure Land? And that time it was pouring outside. And I remember San Sunim said, outside it's raining. And I mean, like we were almost outside. And the monk was just shocked. And then I think Sung San Sunim kind of motioned like, okay, sit down. So the Diamond Sutra can teach us the nature of emptiness and our true nature, but not how to use it. We say the Diamond Sutra means you have a diamond sword. The second great vow. Delusions are endless. We vow to cut through them all. That's the Diamond Sutra sword. The meaning of that is all things are empty. So we use that sword, cut through all our delusions, the good ones and the bad ones, and we are freed from these passions. So Zen Master Sung San said, only keep, don't know mind. That is your diamond sword. Only practice, do it. So just understanding this is not enough. If we do practice, then we start to see what it means. We can begin to find our diamond sword inside, cut through delusions that appear. Then we can't find it anymore. Then we try. Then we cut through, and slowly, our diamond sword itself is more often in our hand. Next, probably for us as Zen students, the most important of the Mahayana Sutras is the Heart Sutra. The Heart Sutra is the shortest of the Mahayana Sutras. I believe it's 256 Chinese characters. And if you go to any of our Zen centers, we chant it twice a day, once in the Korean pronunciation of Chinese and once in the local language. In America, in English, in Poland, in Polish, in Russia, in Russian, in Germany, in German, in Singapore or Hong Kong or Malaysia, in either Cantonese or Mandarin. In Korea, in Musangsa, we also chanted in English because that's our international teaching language here. So we chant it twice a day in the Korean Chinese, and in the local language. So it's also in Korea, there's three main altars in a Buddha hall, the main Buddha altar, and then there's an altar, it's sort of like Buddha's army, to like these fighting guys, and they all support Buddha. I guess in Tibetan Buddhism, you would call them Dharma protectors. And then there's an altar, Amitabha, where funerals are held in front of that altar. And when we chant the Heart Sutra in Korean, we turn and we face, it's called Shinjang, the Buddha's army, And we asked one time, why do we do that? And Sun Tzu said, they are army people, so many talking they don't like. So they like this very short sutra. So we turn and we chant the sutra facing that altar. And actually, if you look at some of the paintings, it's great. I mean, it's all pictured old Korean and Chinese soldiers with beards and dragon hats and There's one guy, 4 eyes. It's all from the Avatamsaka Sutra, I think. But I heard one of our Sunims one time give a talk about it. This is like the really tough taxi cab driver who helps you out, you know, the construction worker that helps you. Or I saw this video, this middle-aged woman's walking past a store, and suddenly this huge plate glass window just comes loose and starts coming down on a kid. And she's able to hold it before it collapses on her and save the kid. You know, it's that kind of person who, you know, they do something to help others in dynamic moments. You know? So it's not just you know, some cosmology. It's you and me. It's the dog that jumps in the swimming pool and grabs the baby of the family by the diaper and pulls it out. You know, things like that. Maybe it's you one day catching some kid falling from a porch or something. This Heart Sutra is very important, and there's many things to it, but the most important thing is it teaches us 4 worlds. And if you've seen formal Dharma talks by Zen Master Sung San or by many of our teachers, you know, they hit the table and then they give some kind of speech, you know, like form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Mountain is water, water is mountain. This is the opposite world. Everything's always changing, changing, changing. Then they hold the stick up and hit. This is originally everything is empty. You know, no form, no emptiness, no mountain, no water. This is the absolute world. Boom. Form is form, emptiness is emptiness. Mountain is mountain, water is water. Each thing is complete by itself. This is the truth world or the complete world. So 3 kinds of worlds, you know, opposite world, absolute world, you know, opposite world, mountain is water, water is mountain. They're always changing, changing. Absolute world, no mountain, no water. Originally, everything's empty. And complete world, mountain is mountain, water is water. Each thing by itself is complete in the truth. So which world's correct? And then, ha! Mountain is high, water's flowing. Function world. So moment world. So this is the teaching of the Heart Sutra and shows us practice. And if we practice and study and whatever you study, you have to digest. So don't study too much. Don't study words too much, okay? But if you digest, then you can see, you can experience very clearly. Sometimes, a lot of the time we keep opposite thinking, sometimes absolute, not attached, you know? Sometimes, oh, each thing's complete, and sometimes correct function. Everybody does that. But with training, just like everybody can throw a ball, with training, we can get good at it. We can get skillful if we train ourselves. And if we have teachers and teaching and practicing friends. Baseball players train to be good baseball players, and basketball players to be good basketball players, and, you know, doctors to be good doctors, and Zen students practice to be correct human beings, Bodhisattvas. So in any situation, we can do it for others. So basically, that is the Heart Sutra. Return to our original empty mind, then take this empty mind and make love mind, make compassion mind, okay? And it's a natural process when we actually experience these things, when we attain opposite world, absolute world, complete world, and function world, and we attain what is human beings' true nature. So the Heart Sutra for Zen students is really central. It shows us what to do, where to go, how to do it. Also in the Heart Sutra, when Buddha is talking about the absolute world, you know, no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no color, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no object of mind. no eye consciousness, no ear consciousness, and so forth until no mind consciousness. That's the 18 realms of Hinayana Buddhism. He's taking it away. He talks about no origination, no stopping, no path. No suffering, no origination, no stopping, no path. That's the Four Noble Truths. He's taking it away. The nature of suffering and the nature of cause of suffering, how to end suffering, and the path. So basically, he's taking all his teaching in the Heart Sutra and he's returning it all to the absolute. So it's very interesting if you look through it. But more important is we understand what this is talking about. It's relating to our experience if we're really paying attention and we have a big question. And it shows us where to go. Mahaparinirvana Sutra